Hi, good morning, everyone. I'm really honored to share this stage with some of the most innovative leaders who are shaping the future of commerce media. I am joined by Kristi from Uber Advertising, with Parbs from CBS Media Exchange, with Mark from PayPal, and Ryan from NBCUniversal. Before we get started, let me just take a minute and highlight the definition of commerce media. At the very core, it is really about putting the customer at the very center of the advertising experience. It is about businesses who have significant relationships, first-party relationships, who curate different signals to build new advertising experiences for the consumer. With that, we are going to cover three things today: how commerce media is shaping the future customer experience, number one. Number two, we are going to look at what is the impact of commerce media across the larger media landscape. And finally, we are going to look at how advertisers should leverage commerce media to deliver better outcomes for themselves. With that, I'll start with the first question. Kristi, how are you thinking about the consumers relative to your advertising business?
Yeah, I think as those of you I've worked with over the years, I've been in the retail media space for quite some time, and most recently moved over to Uber, and really am now in the broader commerce media landscape. And what's interesting at Uber in particular is that this is a media platform not of intention, but of doing. And so when people come to our apps, whether it be to hail a ride or to have something delivered to their home, it's people who are actually making purchase decisions or decisions to do something specific in that moment. And that's incredibly powerful. The other thing that's more important, and Scott has talked about this in some other forums, where it's like, remember the day when you used to hail a taxi? That we're completely changing the way people either go somewhere or get something. And that change in consumer behavior has profound impact on how any brand thinks about how they engage with their customer. So the fact that we can run ads in a lovely environment where people are actually going somewhere, are they going to a bar? What kind of messaging would a liquor brand want to insert at that moment is really powerful. Or are they opening up the app trying to decide what to have for lunch, or delivered to the office? And again, brands can insert themselves there. So it's just a really powerful, very specific space that we own.
Yeah, absolutely. Parbs, next to you, you always describe yourself as a beauty and not a beauty expert.
Always. No, that's actually how I lead with my introduction.
Health and
that
beauty.
You are beauty?
That I'm beauty.
That you actually consider yourself more of a health and beauty company. And so how are you taking your advertising experience and including consumers in that journey?
Yeah. Well, health and wellness, I'm going to sort of just define that a little bit sort of more robustly. And before I answer that as well, I'm not ready to let go of retail media networks right now. So I'm going to stick with that, and I think I'm the odd one out on this stage. But the way in which we think about our consumer and certainly the retail media network is really three things. Think about it through the level of product discovery, and how do we bring products that are relevant to those consumers that are looking to engage with our omni-channel ecosystem, whether that's in an in-store environment or through our digital platform. The second piece is how do we think about personalization at scale? The business that we have is built and predicated upon a loyalty program, which is Extra Care, and I'm sure there's a lot of Extra Care users within this room. But how do we provide that level of personalization? Again, personalization in digital environments, on our on-site environments, but also personalization in a off-site environment, but also as well, how do we bring localization to communities in and around the US? That's part and parcel of the way in which CVS Pharmacy exists. We are that trusted brand when it comes to the consumer within their health and wellness journey. And the third piece is exactly what we're talking about, which is the relevance and more importantly, the important role that CVS plays within that health and wellness journey. Ensuring that we're empowering that consumer and providing a seamless journey through their health and wellness journey is paramount to the way in which we think about our business. So I'll give you by way of an example. We have almost 9,000 locations across the US, and each of those actual locations serve a community. There's pharmacists who are part of the community. There are even the front store staff that are part of the community. How do we think about bringing message to those communities that is relevant to the consumer? For one, I'll give you an example. We're seeing probably the worst outbreak of flu in the 24-25 season, ever since from the beginning of COVID. It's been pretty bad this year. We can understand pockets of where that flu outbreak is happening, and then how do we bring editorial message, not through the retail media network, but the editorial message to screens within our environments that may be pushing and activating consumers to think about flu vaccines. The layer that the retail media network has on top of that is the ability to highlight certain products that could also be relevant to you if you are coming down with flu. So that level of sort of customization and personalization at scale across our communities is incredibly important to the way in which we think about our business.
I really like this whole idea of delivering an experience across an entire community, which makes it so much more powerful than just simple advertising. Mark, to you now, you are kind of creating a net new experience. Tell us a bit about how you're thinking about this, what are the challenges, and how are the consumers at the very heart of this?
Sure, happy to share a little more about PayPal. If you think about PayPal, right, PayPal over the last 20, 25 years in Venmo has built a really powerful platform. We have now more than 400 million consumers on the platform, and we have more than 30 million merchants on the platform, which means we actually have access to that transaction data, to purchase data across a variety of merchants, and therefore have a relatively deep understanding of consumers and have very rich consumer profiles. And therefore, whether we now talk about commerce, media networks or retail media networks, the idea is really it's about a network, right? It's about bringing together all those kind of merchants together collaboratively and then bring forward kind of inspiring opportunities for our consumers. What does it now mean for our consumers specifically? So imagine as a consumer, you're watching on your streaming device your latest commercials, and we can then push a commercial or maybe even an offer directly to your phone. So we're basically bringing now the point of sale, the smart wallet that you have in your pocket, right, together with the advertising opportunities. And that allows us to really kind of close the loop for our advertisers in a way that is actually now doable across, again, many, many merchants and not one single merchant. I think that's really powerful from a merchant and an advertiser perspective, but at the same time also for a consumer, because suddenly now all the messages get coordinated and orchestrated across the merchants, and they are at the same time actionable in your smart wallet. So whenever you then pay, you can seamlessly, let's say, redeem a 10% off coupon, right, from a merchant, and that's kind of really, really interesting and powerful.
I really love the example. I mean, you're really helping the consumers get net new ideas of how they can use their money, which is incredible. Yeah. So now, Ryan, coming to you, how are you thinking about, I mean, you have been in this industry for a long time. Your business is helping advertisers connect with the consumers. How are you today looking at this ecosystem and thinking, what else can I do?
Yeah, well, I mean, to start, it's just like a fascinating time to be in the quote unquote television business. Everything is being reinvented around the digitization of TV and streaming. And what we can do with this sort of direct-to-consumer streaming model, because now we have direct logins and subscriber information around Peacock and our streaming properties. And that allows us to do really fascinating things with the platform using these data partnerships with commerce and retail media networks. Specifically in this space, I think we're transforming the TV experience in two key ways. One, we're making the ad experience more personalized using integrations with commerce companies. So connecting data to show more personalized ads to people as they view is a big departure from the traditional TV model where everyone saw the same ads at the same time, regardless of who they were or where they were viewing. The second is making the TV experience more interactive, and that means really more shoppable. We believe that today and going forward, more and more people are going to get used to the idea of shopping through their television. And in just the last year, we saw 2x growth in the shoppable ad formats that have been running on the Peacock platform. But two quick examples of this. One, in live sports, we launched something called virtual concessions last year during the Olympics with Instacart. This allowed anyone who was watching on Peacock to order from Instacart concessions that were promoted there live during the experience. Research shows that 2 out of 3 Peacock users use delivery services while they're watching live sports and movies. And advertisers that participated in that saw, on average, 60% greater sales than the year prior average using that virtual concession product. The second product is called Must Shop TV. It's for our non-live environments, things like Bravo and other like reality and scripted TV series. We use AI to actually match products within the show to products that are available at a retail partner, in this case, Walmart. And then we can promote those during the show and people can shop for them. So you can take something like Below Deck and we're able to offer everything from product recommendations for like table settings to cookware to the fashion that people on the boat are wearing and allow people to shop for them right away. And we're seeing more and more people, more and more consumers engage in this experience and start to look to television as not just a viewing experience, but actually a shopping experience.
I love that. I mean, you're basically transforming the traditional media landscape. And I think that's kind of like the second question here. Parbs, we'll start with you. We have many different offerings here that advertisers can use, right? And there's a lot of change happening across the media landscape. What is the impact of commerce media, on like the larger overall media landscape today?
Well, I think, there's first and foremost, we're making media much more accountable and addressable. And when you have the ability to truly close the loop and provide true incrementality to brands who are working with you, that in itself is a game changer. Having been in sort of digital for a very long time, this was always the promise. And we kind of got lost in that. Scott referred to that this morning when he started cutting up $100 bills on the stage. But the point being here is that we're now in a world where we can truly measure impact of media and dollars spent at retail. But there is a but. And the but is this. I truly believe that not all retail media, commerce media is created equal. I believe that there are different levels of understanding of your consumers and the data assets upon which you build. We all obviously know that in a digital environment, logged in state is the holy grail. As we think about in a physical environment, loyalty is really the holy grail. Stitching those environments together, just given the way that the consumers are purchasing, is incredibly important. Understanding behaviors when consumers move from a digital environment to a physical environment, where they start their journey, where they end their journey, is incredibly important to a brand because it enables insights that enables their strategies, which enables the way in which they talk to consumers. And we talk a lot about incrementality, right? We talk a lot about incrementality within the retail media space. I think there's different levels of incrementality as well. IAB work very, very closely with the retail media networks, and they say, hey, here are the standards. There's a sliding scale. There's the standard, and then there's the gold standard. We believe at CMX around how do we provide a level of transparency to brands. We are at the gold standard of what incrementality truly means, and that's what we are going to continue to drive. So I think we've still got some work to do, right, to really prove our efficacy. Transparency is going to be key. Working together to build the gold standard is also going to be key. And brands need to understand that all retail commerce media is not created equal.
And if I can add on to that too, one of the things that I really like about this group being together to talk about this is we actually can all be working together. And there is a new level up for retail media and commerce media that's going to be about, I'll call it creativity, maybe it's more innovation, in how we come together in a collaborative sort of way. And I get that's why we're here at Ramp Up, because LiveRamp obviously enables that quite a bit. But when you talk about even measurement, it's not measurement just for CVS, it's measurement for Pepsi. And how can they import all of us into the way that they measure us as a marketing tactic versus a lot of other things that they're doing. And I think that the new discussion is not going to be, do you have a retail media network? It's how are you bringing it to market to actually lift up the entire market by choosing a very specific partner ecosystem that you bring to the market. And I think we'll see more and more of that as we go forward.
So maybe to expand on that, what Kristi just mentioned, incrementality is basically a view of a single retailer. How am I, as a single retailer, help to sell more of product X? An advertiser, however, thinks differently. An advertiser is wondering, how should I actually allocate my media dollars across multiple retailers so that I can then optimize my media spend across multiple retailers? At the end of the day, an advertiser cares about market share. A CFO gives the CMO money based on market share and whether market share is actually increasing or not. It's not about incrementality, it's about market share. And market share means that you have the view across many, many retailers. And I think that's where PayPal can play a significant role in the future, because we have the data, the transaction data across all the retailers already, right? And so we can now provide that level of insights back to the advertiser, and we can help then the advertisers to optimize media spend based on market share, based on how market share is changing over time across all the different merchants that we are already connected with. I think there's a shift in our industry from incrementality is a single view to having more a cross-merchant view that is going to change our industry significantly over the next couple of years.
So transparency, collaboration to provide much better view of what's happening across the marketing dollars.
Yeah. And on the collaboration piece, maybe to add on that is also, if you think about our industry as it has evolved, right? There was kind of display, and there was programmatic, and there was video, and there was mobile. In each case, you went through the same kind of process, which is in the beginning, you had a huge number of kind of smaller players, and then suddenly consolidation happened. And you see right now also, you have hundreds of retail media companies out there. Advertisers, however, they can't actually work with each of them individually. So there's also, as an industry, right, the need to actually come together, to collaborate, and to provide larger kind of cross-merchant solutions for advertisers so that the advertisers can actually efficiently handle the media spend across all the retail media companies that become available. And again, that's when opportunity is for players like us to kind of not only being the measurement layer across many retailers, but also the activation layer across the retailers that are part of our platform.
Yeah, so simplify the life of the advertiser to allow them to run their campaigns across and deliver the right outcomes.
And that's where you guys help, right? LiveRamp being also across all those kind of platforms, you basically become then the connecting tissue, right, to enable the joint measurement and the aggregated activation. Yeah.
And there was something that Scott said that I thought rang very true for me, which is there are very few who can go it alone. The rest of us are really going to change the industry and provide a really great service if we do it together. We know who those couple who can go it alone are. And I think, when you bring it all together in a way that it's more in service of the brand, it starts to get really interesting in terms of how we can figure out those collaboration points and what we can bring to the market that would be distinctly different.
Yeah, and Ryan, how are you thinking about incrementality, measurement? You mentioned some partnerships across and collaboration across the ecosystem. What will be your vision on unlocking the potential on TV?
Yeah, I think just generally for the media landscape, there's just going to be this continued, blurring of media and commerce in a good way, right? So companies like NBCU are very media rich. We reach 100 million monthly active users on Peacock now. We have the largest ad-supported reach in the US across all of our properties. So to us, it's about bringing in outcome data and tying it to our great media reach. I think the big transformation here, and Mark kind of touched on it, that I think the media community has to look at is the sort of buildup of the new infrastructure to support this at scale, right? You know, coming from where we were before, relying on like more limited third-party measurement, right, was relatively easy. Everyone would just kind of roll up into a single currency, which measured television at like a demo level and a reach and frequency level, but didn't really get to this outcome data. As we start to pivot from third-party measurement to using first-party data and combining, say, Peacock subscriber data with Uber data and CVS data and PayPal data, advertisers get much more interesting measurement. But you need infrastructure like LiveRamp, you know, provides and Habu provides, so advertisers can get a view across all of their streaming properties and all of these places where the outcomes are happening. Otherwise, even though you have the promise of this new, better measurement, it's sort of held back by I guess, the technology intricacies. So I think the media community has to kind of be aware of this and be mutually investing in order to get the most value out of it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think you know, I am conscious of time, so last question for the session here, but the most important one, I think. How should advertisers think about 2025? What are the key elements they should look forward to? Mark, maybe I start with you.
Yeah, there's one thing which, again, we have to talk about, which is AI, right? Or the panel without AI. And I do think that's a huge opportunity for advertisers because on the one hand, over the last 10, 15 years, we really became good in targeting and audience management, all of that. But what we haven't done is we actually haven't really adjusted that to the creative, meaning everyone at the end is still seeing the same creative, right? And so for an advertiser perspective, it means how can you now start to mass customize the creatives so that all these micro segments will actually get different kind of creative messages. And then the next step is, and Ryan, you mentioned it, how can you not only change and mass customize the creative, but also how can you make the creative shoppable, right? With integrations like with PayPal and Venmo, so that you really make it so seamless for the consumer to actually see an ad, respond to the ad, make the purchase, you can measure it, and you close the loop. So I think from an advertiser perspective, the creative is the next kind of wild, wild west, where we'll see a lot of innovation, and that integration with shopping in the ad, and then providing a closed loop attribution across all merchants. I think that's a recipe for the future success of a company.
So shoppable, creative, more AI use on improving customer experience through creative. Yeah. Ryan.
I mean, I think that the big thing is that from an advertiser perspective is to start to see TV as a full funnel measurement platform. So, you know, it's not our intention to sort of replace the reach and frequency that advertisers are used to getting types of measurement with lower funnel, but to expect both, right? And so we are trying to bring an always-on approach to some of our programming where advertisers have access to commerce outcome data. We did a lot of work with Walmart in this past year on live sports, and we saw that when you run ads in premium live sports, transaction rates go up. The average checkout percentage went up by about 43% by showing the same ads inside live premium sports as you'd show at other times. And 21% more new buyers were coming to the products that were advertised. So by combining that data with the sort of premiumness of what TV can offer, we think that we're going to set a new expectation for what advertisers get out of their television.
So always on full funnel kind of optimization for the advertisers.
100%.
Okay, Kristi.
Yeah, certainly what they said. But I would also say I think 2025 is going to be a big year of transition. I think that we're reasonably clear on what the standards should be. I think if you're a brand, you should have an expectation that any of us or anybody in this partner ecosystem is operating from a starting point of those standards. And now let's start to innovate and differentiate on top of that. So, you know, when you've got all of these new capabilities like AI at scale and integrated into how we buy and measure, and this is the opportunity for us to really get into conversations, roll up our sleeves, and work on it together to come up with the next big innovation. Like, let's take a big leap forward. I think it's time now that we're operating off of a much more stable base.
So strategic partnerships to unlock new experiences and innovation for the advertiser.
Yep.
Barbs, finish with you.
Yeah, so I would say three things. Big push for us is what we're doing in our in-store environments. You know, we're seeing close to 4 million consumers who are coming through our doors every single day. That's a captive audience that we can absolutely have conversations with when they're in our in-store environments, when they're not. The second piece that I would say is how do we think about transparency as an industry and provide that level of transparency collectively to brands so they fully understand what it is that they are investing in and that we don't fall into the same pitfalls that lots of other sectors within the ad sector have done over the many, many, many years. We have an opportunity to change the way in which we behave and, more importantly, cut a lot of the inefficiencies out. The third piece, which is probably leans into the theme of this conference, which is collaboration. I think there's going to be some incredibly important and exciting collaborations that will happen. I think Kristi's given me an idea for 3 that we can do here. But the reality is that those collaborations will drive the industry. It will drive consumer engagement. It will drive value back to the advertisers too, as we look at the ways in which we build our industry as a whole.
So transparency across the industry, collaboration to unlock much more value for advertisers going forward. Okay, well, thank you everybody for joining me today on this panel. Thank you very much for your time.